of the world, now I'm living. And the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
Hey, it's Ann Perry, and today's topic of discussion is, why can the life path number 8 be so challenging? You know, this video was inspired by a letter that I received from one of my viewers, and she said, "Dear Ann, can you help me with my cursed life path number 8? Ouch. So I thought, you know what, I gotta help you guys understand a little bit more about the 8 energy. And so this video isn't just going to be about life path number 8. If you've got a core number 8, if you were born on the 8th day, if your expression number is an 8, heart's desire, and so on and so forth, if you have a prominent 8 in your chart, this video is going to be very, very helpful for you. So, are you ready to learn more? Let's go then. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the number 8. Every number has a positive side and a negative side to it. And if it's a life path number that we're talking about, the life path number is all about your big lessons that you're here to learn. And you know what? Regardless of where the 8 sits in your chart, it's always going to be about lessons because there's some karma attached to the 8. So if you're working with the 8 energy in your birth code, you're somebody, if you're working positively with it, you're somebody who's very ambitious and very self-confident. You're someone who's efficient and energetic and organized. You're really on top of your game. You know, you're the person that's desk is always organized and looking good. You've got executive quality, a lot of talent there, authoritative. You're a very dependable person, very practical. Your integrity is very important to you. You work very, very well with other people, and you work particularly well for someone else's business, right? Because you take it really to heart. You know, you will run someone else's business as if it was your own. That's how much integrity an 8 has when they're operating in the positive. They're inspired leaders, okay? And they're very much goal setters. A lot of times 8s are quite athletic and they like to set goals for themselves. But in any area in your life, you're a goal setter and you achieve your goals. And so when working in the positive side of the 8, they make great managers, really, really good managers. You know, you've all worked for one before, where they're just very positive people, very uplifting people to work with. Now, the negative side of the 8 energy is somebody who is just a little too materialistic, always has to be dressed just so, always has to have just the right shoes, the right purse, the right hat, all of it. You know, we call them the bling babies, okay? A little too rigid and stubborn in approach sometimes. They can be real hard asses. Too driven for status, too driven for power and their appearance, you know, to make sure that they're always looking good. A need for control, a need for money, very overly competitive. You know, the guy that comes to mind when I was putting this together was Jerry Maguire. Remember how aggressive he was? You know, show me the money, right? So Jerry Maguire is a real good classic example of a very badly behaved number 8. Overly competitive, impatient, and intolerant, difficult to work with. If this is your manager, oh my God, really, really difficult to work with, and doesn't take direction or criticism particularly well. So that's the negative side of the 8. Now remember, I'm not just picking on the 8s here because there's a positive and a negative side to every number, okay? All right, so the central focus of the life path number 8, these are the most popular characteristics of the life path number 8 that is written about in numerology books and that you'll see on YouTube and all over the internet and that sort of thing. The 8s tend to be focused on material gain and satisfaction. They are about power and they're about authority, okay? They're about success and also about their status. They like financial security and they're not hard workers. They are hard workers. They're very hard workers and they don't mind working hard for their money. And it's usually related to business. The 8 number indicates karma at play in your life. You know, when you look at the shape of the 8, right? It's what goes around comes around. So you want to be really careful if you're working with the 8 energy because it's all about repetition. And I think that's why the 8s have such a difficult time at times, because it's constantly lessons being repeated. Now remember, the 8 is also double 4. The 4 tends to be a little too focused on what they don't have. And when we double that, it's like double focused on what we don't have. So when you're operating in the negative side of the 8, you get really frustrated. And you create your own reality around the fact that you don't have much, right? So you want to be really careful with this 8 energy, that you use it appropriately. And we're going to talk about that there in a minute. The 8 is also, oddly enough, associated with the planet Saturn, which is the great teacher. Now, before you start writing me letters about astrology and asking me questions and whatnot, I'm not her. I'm not that girl. I don't know anything about astrology, but I do know about the planet Saturn and the fact that when Saturn shows its head, it's all about the lessons, okay, and the teaching opportunities. So sometimes I think that the 8s get beaten up a bit more than everybody else because of the fact that we're ruled by planet Saturn. Okay, so other places that the number 8 can be found in your chart. It can certainly be found in any of your core numbers, so your expression number, which is the totality of all of the letters in your birth name. It can be found in your heart's desire, which is the totality of all the vowels in your birth name. It can also be found in your day of birth, and it can be found in long-term and also in short-term cycles that are influenced by your date of birth as well as your name on your birth certificate. It can also be showing up in areas of karma. If, for example, you don't have the letters H, Q, or Z in your birth name, then you're going to have a karmic lesson of 8, okay? Now, the karmic lesson of 8 is very, very common because the H, the Q, and the Z are not particularly common letters, right? So it's not uncommon for someone to have the 8 found in the way of a karmic lesson. The 8 can also show up in your personality. I have an 8 personality. And sometimes I can be kind of in your face, right? Especially if I'm trying to get a point across. You guys know me well enough by now. I have a big personality, and the personality sometimes is bigger than what some people like. So I like to be able to understand that about myself, that sometimes my approach and the fact that I'm an Aries, again, I'm bringing up astrology, but Aries can be bigger than life too, and we're kind of strong personalities. So, I like to know that about myself because I know that sometimes I have to moderate my personality. I have to tone it down a little bit because sometimes my approach is going to offend some people. Some people who have other conflicting energies, like the 2, for example. The 2 might not like my approach because I am a strong person, right? So it's really, it's an interesting personality number for sure. But beyond that, let's talk about if the life path number 8 is all about material success, then why the heck are we all struggling, right? Those of you with 8s who are struggling. I've come to the understanding that there's just too much hype about the life path number 8 being all about material success. I really don't believe that it's all about material success. I do believe that the 8 is an extremely powerful number, and that the 8 worked in a positive way can be the best manifesting number that there is. There's no question. But there's more to it than that, okay? And there's things that kind of trip us up, that cause us obstacles to get to that place of being really successful. So I think more attention needs to be spent on the issues of power and authority, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. 8s are all about their money. Biggest myth ever told. I don't believe that. I know that there are a lot of 8s that are about their money, but I don't believe that that's the only thing. And I think when we're commonly saying that the 8s are all about their money, it makes an 8 who's not doing particularly well feel really badly about themselves. If that's what they're supposed to be all about, and if I'm supposed to be lucky, and I'm supposed to be, making all this money and whatnot, well, how come I'm not, right? Again, we're going to be talking about that. So the 8s are always lucky. That's the second biggest myth ever told, right? It's hard to be an 8. It's hard to always stay on the positive side of the 8. It's difficult to have this karma attached to the number 8 that says every bit of life experience that we put forward can come right back and bite us in the bum, okay? So it's a very, very powerful number, but you've got to know how to work it right so that you will be successful. Okay, so let's talk about that. How can you make the 8 work to your benefit? Okay, so why have you not been successful if that be your story? Maybe it's because you're not setting healthy boundaries for yourself. Sometimes it has to do with money. Sometimes it has to do with learning the lessons around money, understanding how far it goes and how far it doesn't. Sometimes it has a lot to do with your self-worth, okay? A lot of people with an 8 life path number in particular struggle with their self-worth. So they're not making the money that they want to make. They're making much less money than they want to make. And they're feeling badly because, well, they're an 8. They're supposed to be successful, right? And materially driven. But maybe you're at work and let's say you worked, 60 hours one week. And, you went home to your husband and you said, I just worked 60 hours this week. I just worked my butt off. And this is all they paid me. This is ridiculous. So you go back to work on Monday morning and once again you put in another 60 hours and your boss comes to you and he hands you your paycheck on Thursday. and you look up and go, oh, thank you very much. And then you go home to your husband and you say, look what they paid me. This is ridiculous, right? But if you're not saying anything, if you're not complaining about it, if you're not, looking at your self-worth and saying, listen, I'm worth more, then people are going to disrespect you, okay? And that's all about learning how to set up boundaries. It's learning to say, hey, within these perimeters, this is where I exist, right? And this is what I'm prepared to do for this much money, okay? So there's just one example. Another area is understanding your limitations, which is kind of another word for boundaries. So maybe you're struggling with weight, and maybe you're unhappy because you're overweight. Well, do you know your limitations around food, right? So maybe the food is something that you struggle with, dietary, right? It could be learning to say no, okay? How many of you have a real hard time saying no? If you're struggling with self-worth, it's difficult for you to say no because you want to be liked, you want to be accepted, and you don't want to be rejected or abandoned, right? A lot of us have abandonment issues. So it really comes down to recognizing the times when you're giving your power away, because the 8 is a tremendously powerful number, and it's an amazing number, magnetic number when it comes to manifestation. But you need to really take a look at how is it that you're teaching people how to treat you. So say, for example, you're in a carpool, and you've got to be for work at 8:30, not 8:35, not 8:40. You've got to be at work at 8:30. And so you're carpooling. And the person that you're carpooling with always picks you up late, and it's making you late for work, and you're getting in trouble every day, right? But you're not saying anything about it. You're just pissed off, So what are you doing? You're creating your own reality. You're creating your own misery. You're not saying anything about it. You're not making any changes. You're giving your power away, right? You have the opportunity to exert your power, but you're not doing it. You're giving it away, okay? So understand that there's lots of times when we give our power away, and there's lots of times when we don't need to do that. So you create your own reality. That's the truth. As you believe, so it is. If you think that life is hard, I guess it is. If you think that you don't make enough money, I guess you're right. That's your thoughts. That's your beliefs, right? And that is what creates your reality. Your reality says you're not paid enough, you're not making enough money, and you're struggling. Well, I guess that's your belief, right? As you believe, so it is. So you need to understand that only you and only you are creating your own reality. And a lot of it has to do with the boundaries that you're setting for yourself or not, right? It's about what you're saying and what you're putting out there, and how you're allowing people to treat you. If you say it's okay, if you don't say anything about the fact that this guy's late every day picking you up, then you've just told him it's okay to be late, right? So you got to own that. And that's what I'm saying. You take back the power, and you understand that now you can manifest, right? And that's what the 8 is all about. So what you have said or done, or what you have not said or done, is contributing to your reality as to whether you're successful or you're not, okay? So I really believe that the 8 energy has a lot more to do with your power and your authority and how you use it, and how you go through your day-to-day life building the life that you want, okay? And if you're not happy with it, you need to look at it, step back from it, and go, how have I contributed to this? If I'm not making the money that I want to make, how have I contributed to this, okay? And I think once you start doing that, you'll feel a heck of a lot better about yourself, because things will start to shift. The other thing you want to do, too, is start introducing the word choose into your vocabulary, okay? So if you're not making enough money, and you're too afraid to say to your boss, I'm not making enough money, I need a raise, then I want you to start saying inside of yourself, I am choosing to make less money than what I'm worth. Because I'll tell you what, after you say that to yourself a few times, I choose to allow this man to take advantage of me every morning by not picking me up on time, on the agreed time. I'm choosing not to make enough money. I'm choosing to make less money than what I know I'm worth. Start saying that. That's owning it. That's owning it. It's telling the truth, and it's owning it. But it's also going to eventually, what happens, and very quickly I might add, what happens is all of a sudden it's consciously you come to a place where you go, wait a minute, that's a really stupid choice. I got to make a different choice. Okay, so it's a simple little tip, but use the word choose and choice in your vocabulary more often. If you're mad at somebody, start saying, I'm choosing to be angry with you right now, because nobody can make you feel anything unless you choose to feel that way. Okay, so own it. If you're choosing to be angry, own it. And eventually your body's going to go, what? She's choosing to be angry again. My shoulders hurt. My belly hurts. I'm not feeling really good here. So again, it's about taking back your power, right? The 8 is the power number. And I think that if you're not successful and you're not happy and you are struggling, it's because you're leaking your power out there. So you need to find ways to take your power back. And there's just a few little tips on how to do that. Okay, well, that's it for today. I hope that that's helped you to understand a little bit more about the 8 energy. It is kind of complex, isn't it? I've struggled with it for years, to be perfectly honest. But I think that it really does have more to do with how much power we hold on to and how much power we choose to surrender. I'd love to stay in touch. You can visit my website, AnnPerryNumerologist.com. I have a newsletter there. I only send it out about 4 times a year, so I won't be bugging you too much. But there's usually some really good information in it. And I have a Facebook page, which is really active. I post there every single day something new about numerology. So if you want to learn a little bit more, it's a great way to do it. And I sure wish that you would subscribe to my channel because I love hearing from you guys. I love your feedback. I try to answer every single person's comment because it's really important to me. If you've got questions, it's important to me that I help you to understand. My passion is to help you to be passionate about numerology. So thanks so much, everybody. I'm hoping you're having a great day. Any questions, you know where to post them. If you have any ideas for any other videos that you'd like for me to create, just drop me an email and I'd be happy to entertain that idea for you. Hoping you guys are having a great day. Take care. Bye now.